Phil Vaughn, if you'd stand by, I want to bring in Garrett Haake, who's standing by for us as well. Garrett, you got to speak with Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene as she was speeding off here after spending just a couple of minutes inside that park. What did she tell you?
Yeah, she's not on her way to Mar-a-Lago just yet. We just had one of the stranger interviews I've conducted in my career in the back seat of that SUV after she left this park, talking about what she experienced here, the message that she was trying to say. First of all, she told me she expected to see the kind of mob of protest and counter-protest that we had here today. It's not unusual for any event involving Donald Trump. And she really continued to hammer away at the idea that it's Alvin Bragg, the DA here, is making a political mistake by choosing to go after Donald Trump instead of the crime issues that may exist in New York City. Here's some of what she told me. Put it in some more context on the other side.
This is a witch hunt. If Alvin Bragg was interested in charging people with crime, he'd be punishing the crime that happens every single day right here in Manhattan. Crime is up 22% from last year here in Manhattan. The taxpayers that pay his salary and pay for his entire office and everyone there, they're victims of crime every single day in Manhattan, real crimes. But this is a political witch hunt. Everybody knows it. Everyone sees it for what it is. And the Democrats are destroying themselves in this process, perverting our justice system.
We went back and forth for a little while after that on the points that we don't actually know what's in this indictment at all. We don't know the specific charges. And I think the one sort of political part of this that she speaks to that is largely true, Alvin Bragg is going to have to defend whatever happens today and whatever happens with this prosecution in the future with New York voters. That's a case he's going to have to make. But the case that Donald Trump is going to have to make, and we talked about this more later in the interview, is whether he carries an indictment from New York City, perhaps an indictment from Fulton County, indictment from federal prosecutors into a general election. If that makes him a better candidate in a state like hers of Georgia, it's one of the most narrowly divided states, she argues yes. I think a lot of other, even Republicans, would argue no, that at a time where they see Joe Biden as particularly vulnerable on any other issue, when you're talking about hush money payments and strippers and so, you know, all that kind of thing, even if you can make the political argument, it's the wrong argument to be making to the voters you need to be elected president.
Right.
So
maybe,
very interesting back and forth.
Maybe there's more of a discussion about, does this make him more of a political liability, especially for those that are more undecided. And I'm wondering, with what we're going to be hearing from the DA later on today, obviously after this arraignment, if that's going to be kind of the beginning of the defense, right, of these indictments. But that's obviously very much a wait-and-see scenario.
It just is true that everything about this is at least a little bit political. It can be a legal case that you think is corrupt. Former president and an elected DA. I mean, a DA is ultimately going to have to make the case to voters that this was the best use of his office's time and resources. And, you know, you can do multiple things at the same time, but that's all part of this. That's the reality of the justice system we have in this country and in New York State.
And why he chose to make it a felony as well. Or
if in fact that's what he's chosen to do.
Exactly.